This is 5 on your side at 5. Focused on you.
Breaking news out of downtown St. Louis tonight. About an hour ago, a man was shot and killed at Keener Plaza. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Bush.
I'm Kelly Jackson. Police are at 7th and Market right now. Robert Townsend is live downtown with the latest.
Hey there, Kelly and Mike. This is definitely a active scene right now. You can see right there several police officers and detectives and crime scene technicians are still here at the scene. Again, this all happened about an hour ago right here in Keener Plaza in downtown St. Louis, just blocks away actually from our station. Several people telling me in the past hour they heard at least 6 to 7 gunshots. Minutes ago, I talked to one man who said he witnessed the shooting. He said a man armed with a gun chased another young man across Keener Plaza, fired shots, and then the victim collapsed and died on the sidewalk. Again, police have not told us anything about the young man. Crime scene technicians put up several black tarps all around the victim's body. Again, right now, they're just now placing that body in an ambulance. Again, this was all very startling and obviously disturbing to so many witnesses, park goers, and people actually walking around Keener Plaza on this Thursday afternoon. Again, we understand this is the 45th homicide in the city of St. Louis so far this year. Right now, we're still waiting to talk to police about this latest deadly shooting. That should be happening any minute now. We'll have much more for you coming up live at 6. For now, though, live on Keener Plaza in downtown St. Louis, I'm Robert Townsend, 5 on your side.
The Circuit Attorney's Office appears to be a rudderless ship of chaos.
Just hours ago, a judge moved to hold the St. Louis Circuit Attorney and one of her assistant prosecutors in indirect criminal contempt after they failed to show up for another trial. This was the second hearing for Gardner and her staff this week after they failed to show up to 2 separate trials, and the judge today had some strong words for her.
Christine Byers was in court for the hearing. She is live downtown. He did not mince words, Christine.
He definitely did not, Kelly. Disregard, disdain, disobedience, and disrespect were some of those words that Judge Michael Noble used to describe Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner and her office in his courtroom today. All words that she wasn't even there to hear herself. The case in question centers on a 2020 shooting in which an 11-year-old girl was injured by a stray bullet. Assistant Circuit Attorney Chris Desolitz did not appear for trial April 10th, having a fellow prosecutor tell the judge he was dealing with a knee injury. The judge then scheduled a status hearing for Monday, and Desolitz was a no-show for that hearing too. In court today, Desolitz told the judge he was in another courtroom for another matter, and by the time he made it to Noble's courtroom Monday, the door was already locked. Judge Noble noted multiple times Kim Gardner herself did not appear in his courtroom for today's hearing, and the judge also noted Desolitz alone is assigned to 104 felony cases.
Any prudent practitioner would expect such a caseload to create countless irreconcilable conflicts. It does not appear she has made any reasonable efforts to prevent the resulting chaos. It appears that Ms. Gardner has complete indifference and a conscious disregard for the judicial process.
Gardner now has until May 30th to prepare her defense for the contempt hearing, and a special prosecutor will be appointed. Now, I also spoke to the suspect's mother who was in court today, and she told me she worked at Popeye's Chicken for 14 years, and if she was ever late to work or missed work, she would be fired, and she thinks Kim Gardner needs to be fired too. Live outside the courthouse in downtown St. Louis, Christine Byers, 5 on your side.
Several leaders of surrounding counties say they would support a consolidation of the St. Louis City Circuit Attorney and St. Louis County Prosecutor. This comes about a week after the mayors of Bridgeton, Wildwood, Manchester, and Brentwood asked the state legislature to pass a regional crime legislation to combine the offices. County leaders in St. Charles, Jefferson, and Franklin counties say they want the same. It is up to Missouri lawmakers to decide whether they take up this legislation, but it's not clear whether it will happen or how the two would consolidate.
A new court filing lays out the Missouri Attorney General's arguments against all transgender care for minors and adults.
A Missouri court gave Andrew Bailey's office until Monday night to file his arguments before she makes a decision on whether to block his restrictions on the procedures. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, has more details about the Attorney General's claims. Mark.
Kelly and Mike, that 62-page court filing lays out many of the same arguments we've already heard in court, but it also gives the judge a chance to read through the medical studies and citations before she makes her decision. I'll read some of the language to you now. The state of Missouri describes gender-affirming care like puberty blockers, hormone therapy, and surgical operations as a growing emergency and says it has a compelling government interest and justifies the need for this rule because of a sharp uptick in the number of individuals receiving these types of interventions. The court says, or rather the Attorney General's office says, the Missouri legislature has the authority to ban these experimental procedures entirely. Experimental is their word. So they say Missouri can take the steps, the less stringent steps of simply requiring this informed consent and guardrails, they call them. Those guardrails would ensure that informed consent in writing, forcing doctors to disclose puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones are not approved by the FDA to treat gender dysphoria. The head of Vivint Health today criticized those restrictions and said the FDA should approve the treatments.
That would certainly make this easier because the medical consensus clearly affirms it. Medical associations clearly affirm it. If the stickler is that the FDA hasn't approved it, they certainly should.
Bailey's restrictions are not only subject of scorn in the trans community. They're not even widely accepted in his own party. Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, who's running for governor as a Republican, recently told a local radio station he doubts Bailey will win this case in court. And while Ashcroft may not agree with the procedures himself, he doesn't think the government should restrict it for adults.
Right now, St. Francis County's 911 center is gearing up for a massive radio upgrade. Their dispatchers cover not only their own area, but St. Genevieve and Iron counties too. 5 News 5's Travis Cummings took the trip to learn how the county's emergency communication is changing.
Every call that comes in,
the police are at the scene.
Chuck Farr handles it with care.
I have not sent an officer yet. If you'd like me to, I could.
Farr's been in the St. Francis County 911 dispatch for 23 years.
Seen a lot. I'm involved in a lot of serious calls in my career, and it's been a good one.
With that reward has come some worry.
Officers not be able to make contact with us.
Since going on the air in 1993, the call center in Park Hills has seen its share of challenges. Their call load now averages about 120,000 calls a year between multiple counties. Recently, the FCC required a frequency split and reduced the window of operation by half, cutting wattage and power too.
We're sending our responders into incidents, into schools and factories and into homes that we're not able to communicate very well on the handheld radio system.
Now, thanks to citizen support through local sales tax, Director Alan Wells' eyes is set on a $7 million radio project between St. Francis and St. Genevieve counties. A new simulcast system with more towers and more transmitters.
Right now, the 911 call center handheld coverage sits at about 60 to 65% at best. That's when a first responder on the other side of a call can hear properly and communicate with the people in this room effectively. They're hoping these new upgrades will help them reach more than 90%.
We can talk out on the street all day long with our handhelds and our mobiles, but we can get into these critical infrastructures that are hardened concrete.
There's no way to do it unless we have good radios, good phones. Like that's how we communicate.
These dispatchers say if they can't hear,
I didn't know if you...
they can't help. Travis Cummings, 5 on your side.
And the county just moved to phase 2 of its radio upgrade plan. They'll have to get approval in lower locations and from the FCC on their frequencies. They expect the project to be wrapped up in 2 years.